It's time for love. It's time for your love coach. Let's find out if you're ready for love. Here's your marvelous host, Nikki Lee.
Hello, and welcome to Ready for Love Radio. This is your host and love coach, Nikki Lee. Today, we are going all the way to Hawaii for our guest. Now, I'm going to try not to be jealous about the fact that our guest is in Hawaii and I'm not. But that's okay. It's a beautiful day here in Virginia, too. So that's, you know what, James, I'm not even going to be jealous that you're on Maui and I'm not. But that's okay. That's okay.
You're always invited, Nikki.
Yeah, but it's a long way to Hawaii. But you know what? Watch out saying that, because you never know. I could figure out a way to get there. I did. You know, I did have a client that had a real estate company in Hawaii, but I didn't get there while we were working together either. But one of these days, listeners, let me tell you, James does some very interesting stuff that we're going to talk about. And pretty much all of my listeners at some point have heard me do an interview with Susan while we were working on the book, the book Am I Normal If? And most all of my listeners have heard me do an interview with Paul. Paul's been here umpteen times talking about all kinds of different topics. And I actually met James on a call with Susan and Paul the other day for IMBT, otherwise known as Integrative Mind-Body Therapies. So James is also involved with IMBT. So that's how we met. We met on a Zoom call the other day. So I saw you on the website, and I said, I have to meet this James person one day. So we did meet on Zoom, and we're talking about all kinds of exciting things IMBT has coming up, which I'll be sharing on the show as we release things to the public. James, it's great to have you with me, and we're going to share some really interesting stuff. James is into all kinds of things, y'all. So
yes, it's great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to talking about some of the things that I'm doing and sharing with folks what is possible out there.
I like possibilities. I like creativity, and I like possibilities. And James talks about things that have to do with pleasure and communication and empowerment and togetherness. Y'all are going to love this. Okay. So let me see. You know, and you gave me a list of all these things that you do, and I'm like, unbelievable, all the stuff that you do. But let me start with his mission. Okay, let's start there. His mission is to cultivate a global consciousness re-evolution through individual sensation-based awareness. I like that. He says he feels that the majority of the world's issues can be traced back to our overall dysfunctional relationship to our sexuality. And I think you're right on it with that. I really do. The way to heal...
go ahead.
Let me finish. The way to heal that relationship is through sensation-based awareness, which leads to the global consciousness re-evolution. Now, you know, something that I think isn't realized, and I didn't realize it until I got into all this and started studying with Dr. Ava and working with Tova and Susan, is that our sexuality and being in touch with our sexuality impacts all facets of our life, not just sex and intimacy. Do you agree with me?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Okay.
That's one of the main reasons I'm in this work.
Okay. Now, there are people who and mainly ones who want to suppress and repress people as far as their sexuality, who seem to have this feeling and thought that when we talk about being in touch with our sexuality, we're only talking about the actual act of having sex and intercourse and that kind of thing, or thinking about sex and that kind of deal. They don't realize that being in touch with our sexuality and maybe feeling sexy and, you know, being passionate about something and being intimate and all of that doesn't just mean having sex. They don't grasp what having a relationship and being in touch with our sexuality actually means. How do you describe being in touch with our sexuality aside from the actual act of having sex? Does that make sense?
So yeah, for sure. What we're talking about is that creative energy, that place in ourselves that is intuitive, is connected to the sensations in our body, can feel and read those sensations and recognize the interconnection with our environment and with other people, and if you will, you know, with the cosmos or with God. So that energy, even if we're not having intercourse, because that's not the main point. That's a beautiful point, but it's not the main point. The main point is that recognition that I am a whole and complete organism that has the capacity to feel into life on these in this huge way. Most of the time we're living in this kind of really narrow band of reality that is, you know, not to denigrate ego, but it's basically ego-based, and it's sort of easily manipulated and filled with regrets from the past and the fear of the future, and it's a place of confusion for a lot of people. As we drop into our body, and through these practices that I have learned and I've developed some things, you become more comfortable with the range of sensation and feeling, so that when things come at you in life that might feel upsetting, you can actually ride the waves of that without getting completely thrown off your base. So to me, that is that sensual, creative nature, that's a primal nature that we are all, that is part of all of our heritage. And, you know, there's been a long period of time where that has been kind of demonized and diminished and shunned, even, that place where, you know, we crawling, rolling, jumping, getting our hands in the mud, holding, kissing, hugging, getting life's juices all over us, so to speak, you know. So part of my mission, you would say, is, you know, through that sensation-based awareness, is being unafraid to feel the whole range of sensations and feelings that are available to us, be comfortable with that, and being able to actually have some agency in how you act in life and what you create in life from that. And we can go on to other things around how we translate sensation given our current social context. You know, that we all have experience, we all have perceptions, and there's a tendency to interpret sensation from that narrow band sort of conditioned place, as opposed to just feeling the sensations and the feelings.
Right. something hit me the other day, because I was raised in a very religious, repressed kind of environment. And do you think it's a coincidence that that kind of an atmosphere discourages, and discourages is a very light term, trust me, creativity and curiosity?
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Yeah, the thing about it is that if you have creativity and curiosity and you're truly thinking for yourself, which means that you're actually feeling in your body, you're like, oh, this is what really excites me.
Right.
You're less likely to be in that place where you can be manipulated and controlled.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And when somebody is putting out a rule book or a dogma, they don't want people to deviate from that.
Exactly.
You know? And unfortunately, if we're not allowed to deviate, we're also stifling our growth, and not just on a personal level, but social as well, you know, consciousness evolution.
Right. Exactly. Well, and that's true. And they make sex in any talk or thought or whatever of sexuality at any level for anyone, especially if you're single. But I mean, you know, even if you're married, it's very limited what you're quote unquote allowed to do. You know, so even when you're married and allowed to have sex, you know, to have kids, there's still constraints on how much you can embrace your sexuality in that kind of a situation. So your creativity, your curiosity, and your ability to grow as a human being and that sort of thing is still very limited. So
absolutely.
I was just thinking about that. That just kind of hit me the other day. And it's like, you know, I know how you're not supposed to question, you're not supposed to think for yourself and all this sort of thing. And it's interesting how all those things work together, and they know they work together. That's why all those things are discouraged, as far as I'm concerned. But
there's a and I think this has been building more and more over, you know, the last few hundred years, is this desire to create safety. So, you know, I don't think that all the things that have been created that stifle and repress are actually like done necessarily with malicious intent. I think most of it's done just out of ignorance and out of this deep desire to create safety within ourselves and a community. Unfortunately, it just has gotten really, really distorted. So the safe containers that we're trying to build, let's say for our children, actually cut them off or cut us off from our natural ability to read our environment, read people, and make appropriate decisions. And so then, you know, you have, instead of having true sex education for kids, what we do is we set up a paradigm that says you need to be afraid. You know, we're going to keep you so safe, but you're just going to be afraid of everything. You know,
right?
And you know, there's a lot more to that can get very in depth. But you know, the way to freedom from all of this is by the allowance of, and actually the encouragement of, getting into our true primal natures, knowing that, you know, the quote shadow or the dark side or the icky stuff, you know, and really know that stuff. That's why I do hedonic engineering, and we can talk about that in a minute. But, the idea is you don't just jump off the cliff and make it a free-for-all and you're going to be a, dynastic free-for-all every day, but it's taking little bites of things that push your edges and expand your capacity.
Right.
Slowly, but slowly, but slowly. And so, yeah, and we can do that consciously as adults. Where we need, go ahead.
There's many times on here that I'll say, you can grow a little at a time. You can get out of your comfort zone, a little at a time. You don't have to dive head first. Just put your foot out. Just put your ankle out. Just try. Just learn about something new. Just expand your knowledge so that you're not taking some stranger's word for something and drawing an erroneous conclusion about it. Just learn so that if you meet somebody that does something new, you'll have a better understanding.
Exactly.
You may find something new that does interest you. You never know. But just because you learn about something doesn't mean you have to embrace it and do it. You'll just grow because you learned something new and you have more understanding about something new and new people and new whatever, So,
exactly.
Yeah. I thought you understand what I was trying to do.
And it's a good point too. I mean, there was periods of my life where I've done that sort of slow step, a little sip at a time, a little thing, kind of breaking open my own self and releasing conditioning and clearing my eyes so I could see where the decisions that I had made to keep myself safe as a child weren't helping me as an adult. And I reached a certain level through, just different spiritual practices and yoga and breath work and just a whole variety of things, even doing, my first heavy psychedelic journey within a container. And I reached a place where I actually made the conscious decision to dive into that, what some people call it left-hand tantra or dark tantra, dive completely into the desire field and just explore everything. And what I felt within that, and again, this isn't for everybody. I'm not saying everybody or anybody should do this, but I'm just recounting my experience of doing that. And where I was in myself at that time was either I'm going to die in this exploration, or I'm going to really break open the last bits of that deep, deep conditioning, which is, family, society, transgenerational, epigenetic. It's all of it. And, in that way, euphemistically die to myself, I suppose that would be the way. And, it was a double-edged sword to do that, so it's not something to be taken lightly. And in that period of time, I did clear away a huge amount of the conditioning and rearranged my neurobiology so that I don't have the same reaction to things, and my perception is opened in a way that it never has been. And at the same time, some of the things that I was doing hurt my body and hurt other people. So it's a double-edged sword in that way, and I'm glad I did it. It's part of my story.
I get that. Well, and the thing is, each thing we do teaches us something about ourselves. It could
Right.
be something we do want, something we don't want, what our boundaries are, where maybe we can expand our boundaries, where we can, tighten our boundaries. It all of those things. But it's going to teach us something. We just have to pay attention and take note.
Yes. Well, that's another one of the foundations of the somatic work is awareness. And so,
yes.
In somatic work, the way I look at it, and, I'm not the only one, but,
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. What does somatic mean? Let's start there.
Somatic, the word somatic has the root in the Greek word soma, and without going into a lot of history around that, it just means body, and it was used in a lot of different ways as body of soldiers, your living body, a dead body, all those kinds of things. But as the years have gone by, it's gotten more refined, let's say. And what it is it's the full organic, your whole organic organism. So it's the sensate experience of the body as our intrinsic being. It's the body and mind as one complex organic organism, and it includes, in my vision, it includes the people around us and the totality of our environment. So, there you go. That's somatics.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Okay. Let me share. I was looking up some definitions to get my head around it before we got on here. And it says, somatics describe any practice that uses the mind-body connection to help you survey your internal self and listen to signals your body sends about pain, discomfort, or imbalance. And I would assume anything else, too.
Or about pleasure and joy and, you're 100%, I don't know if I can use these words, but, you're 100% fuck yes and you're 100% fuck no. I mean, like you really, when you go in and you really survey those sensations and you get comfortable with that and quit shunning the things that seem uncomfortable and learn how to just sit with that energy, and then you ask questions. Okay, what is it that's really happening here? What is it that I really want? What is it that I really need? Who are you? Sometimes is an appropriate question to ask that feeling, especially like when you're in a trauma loop. Mm-hmm. Then the intuitive answers are there. As long as I'm shoving it away and saying, oh God, I don't want to feel that. And, depending on your upbringing, that could be anything like sexual desire. Oh, that's not safe to feel, so I'm going to push that down. You know what I mean? And then that, the more you do that, the more likely those things are going to come out in these backwards way that is going to actually be harmful to yourself or to other people. But as long as you go right into it and feel it and allow that energy to rise up and not be afraid of it, as a matter of fact, what we translate oftentimes into a negative emotion is simply your creative, erotic energy that is just wanting to express in some way. And then, of course, you can decide what you want to do with that. I mean, just because you're having a sexual desire doesn't mean you have to go and sleep with that person, It just means like, whoa, I recognize that, and that's a good thing. Right. And then it can change the nature of the emotional reactivity in such a way that you can that it becomes more of a positive creative force. Right.
Well, the thing is, pushing things down that we need to deal with and hiding them and suppressing them, that never is a good thing. We need to deal with them and get them resolved. I didn't say that was the easiest thing sometimes, but in the long run, that we need to do that. Okay, you've got this interesting thing. I love the sound of this, and it sounds so interesting, called somatic pleasure. Tell me about that. Yeah.
Well, after many years of doing body work and working with people on a psychosomatic level, what I recognized was that a lot of people didn't know how to or didn't really want to change how they were, what was going on within them. So right. They would come back to me over and over again for the cathartic experience and then not be able to take that out from the wherever we were working and use that to shift their lives so that they could live a little more comfortably in their life. And so out of that, what began to happen, because I've done a lot of trauma-informed work with ex-combatants and people that have been tortured and, child abuse and all kinds of things. And the tendency is to want to dig after the trauma, like dig into it, and ask the right questions, get people to breathe, push here, push there, and create that cathartic moment, because it seems, well, first off, I think it really is just kind of exciting, for everybody. And it creates endorphins and all those feel-goods, and everybody feels good for a minute. But what I noticed is that there was no sustained change. So people kept coming back with the same stuff over and over again. So in my own work, too, working with myself and around my own sexuality and repression and how I was raised, what I started getting to was that, A, you don't have to chase the trauma down, and B, that it's way better to build the foundations and the tools to handle the vagaries or the imbalances in life, the things that come at you or the things that arise, and then from there, when the trauma is ready to release, so we talk about the issues in the tissues, so the body memory of something, like a time when you weren't able, either as a child or in some other situation, weren't able to actually realize the completion of an action. So that just gets stored in the body. If you're well, we all pretty much know what trauma is. It just gets stored in the body. And coming at it from a place of let's give you these tools and build this foundation, and then when the trauma arises, you have the tools to actually handle that and then heal from that and actually make a change in your life. The other thing that happens when you come into the body from that perception, or not that perception, but that perspective, a good portion of the time, what we've been calling trauma is actually just taken care of, because you get to experience your energy and the sensations in your body. So somatic pleasure is, about revealing and liberating our creative, sensual, sexual natures, and, in service of living a more authentically embodied life. So, and this can take many different forms, but the idea is to be more gentle, have more fun, actually create pleasure in the body, and then from there, the healing can be done. So it's kind of like, a spoonful of sugar helps a medicine go down. It's like, if we come at it from that instead of like this harsh place, which, a lot of modalities are kind of in that realm. Let's get to the trauma, then, the trauma actually can get reinforced, or like I said before, there's no sustained change. So when I work with people, I still use many of the same tools, the breath and skillful touch and movement and consent-based communication and awareness, like mindfulness meditation. We're going to go through a little meditation at the end of this. That's an example of that. And when I'm working with people, it can be everything from clothes on, kind of contact, improv sort of movement where you're pushing up against each other and just exploring your boundaries. It can be almost like a wrestling, or it can be laid out on the table and just having me work on you, like massage, and then guiding you through breath work and awareness into the body and into the sensations, encouraging people to speak into what's happening within their body. So a lot of times we can feel it, but there's some block to actually speaking about it. And through that process, it's pretty amazing what actually arises and comes up and gets revealed and healed. And also moving more into the repressed sexuality realm, people that have been in like sexless marriages or relationships or in abusive situations, or they're reaching a time of life when the sexual energy is shifting quite a bit, and it's so when people are coming in with that, we can move into more of the tantric or Taoist based sexological practices, where we might be doing belly work, we might be doing pelvic opening, which can be interior or exterior. It can be very almost medical, like an examination and releasing muscles on the inside of the pelvis, or it can be more sensual and working more towards like orgasmic release. So it's a pretty wide range of, I've got a bunch of tools and a lot of experience, and I bring all of that to every individual session or when I'm working with groups too. So I teach groups and workshops, that kind of thing. All of that comes in, and just one other thing is that every session is customized to whatever that person is bringing in at that time. So
there's something that I want to put together at some point. It's dependent on me having the money to take off and actually work on it, but or funding. But what about people that are going through medical treatment, say cancer, and they're feeling disconnected from their partners because of the treatment, and they need to do the healing and the wellness from their treatment and reconnecting with their partners? Would that be helpful for something like that?
I think absolutely. I mean, it's still the somatic work, right? And then also now you're dealing with the trauma of medical treatment, and part of that trauma is the treatments themselves oftentimes have a tendency to shut down desire,
right?
Sexuality, and also, the body is going through this major thing. There's not a lot of bandwidth for connecting with other people, oftentimes. And it's a beautiful time to one of the tools that I would definitely use is awareness or mindfulness-based meditation type practices, coming into gentle breathing, really connecting with everything that's happening in the body. Right. And then if the partner is willing, like doing that together. So again, when I go over this 21 breath salute that we're going to do at the end, it's something that you can do on your own, but it's also something that is perfect for people to do together. And so then letting go of the ideas that it has to be sexual. Right. Like it can be very sensual and just at the level of your energy or the person's energy, and getting comfortable with that and learning how to be okay with just where you are. Right. And maybe you get a 5-minute connection with this other person, and that's enough for the day. So, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And of course, depending on what type of cancer you've got, depends on, what physically you're dealing with. But it seemed like that would do. And do you do your treatment with your clients over Zoom? Because not all of us are fortunate enough to be in Hawaii.
No, I definitely I have several coaching programs that I do on Zoom. Anything from just a one-time call to 4-session packages, and then various levels within that. And again, there's a pretty extensive intake, and so then we create what the client needs from that.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I'll add you to my list of people then, because I think that would be a neat addition to what I'm already thinking about. But it's interesting as we go through certain things ourselves. The biggest thing is fill a need, and it's something that I know there's a lot of other people that need the same sort of thing that dawned on me was missing during treatment. So okay. So did we cover how eroticism and trauma go together, or was there another element of that you want to cover?
Well, no, I would just say that the erotic coming at trauma, or maybe not even coming at trauma, but coming into creating or recognizing or completely revealing your own sensual, erotic, creative nature builds that muscle, so that when anything trauma-like is stored in your body or something comes at you from the outside, you have the tools and the skill and the strength to deal with that. You have resiliency and agency in those situations and not get thrown off. So often the erotic energy and the stored energy from trauma are pretty much the same thing. They both want to express in this way, and it's just kind of pent up. So for me, I think it's just better, or it's more gentle and more fun to come at that from that erotic side, or the pleasurable side, and then allow the harder stuff to come up. Right. And then there's the whole field of like kink and BDSM, where there was one study done on first responder survivors from 9/11 who ended up going into the kink BDSM community and finding folks that could take them through what I would just call it ordeal, whether it's flogging or something like that, but taking them into this place because they had what might be described as survivor's guilt. You know, they had this trauma watching other people die and seeing this, you know, this huge event. And so to sort of break that cycle within themselves, they used eroticism, let's say, to shift the trauma in their body.
Okay. Interesting. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I can definitely see people having survivor's guilt after 9/11.
Well, and then one other thing too is, like, if you look back in through history, you know, you had the temples where you had women. They called them, you know, the temple, the sacred whores, and
right.
Men coming back from war would go there and spend some time, and through that erotic pleasure, they would heal from the trauma wounds of being on the battlefield. I mean,
right. Okay, interesting. All right. So, what is a pleasure sensation artist?
That's something I made up. No, but it basically is, I love, even just on a fun side, right? Not therapeutically, but it can be very therapeutic. I've done this with people. I love bringing people to new experiences in their body, you know, whether it's using some kind of an implement, you know, where you're feathers or pinwheels or soft gloves or scratchy things or anything that creates sensation on the body, not necessarily trying to bring pain. You're just bringing sensation to the body and exploring what feels good, where on the body it feels good. So it's a great way of learning your pleasure map. You know, I like it when you squeeze my arm and, you know, just sort of like sends this sensation up through my head and down into my belly, and, you know, it opens up energy for me. It could be as simple as that. So that's what it is. I feel like it's kind of like painting, you know, on a living body with your hands or implements, or even with your own body. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I've one of my favorite ebooks that I wrote, and it's super, super short. It's almost like a report. Is Kissing from Head to Toe, and I thought of every possible place I could think of, and I tell people, you know, just work your way through it. You know, and even if it seems like a crazy place, try it. You never know. You know, if you don't like it, don't do it again. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, be in a very good consent and safe container when you do that.
Well, yeah.
So that you know that your no is going to be honored, respected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super important.
But I mean, you know, it's. There's a lot of places that you probably never thought about, but I mean, the craziest places feel good, you know? No.
And you know, Nikki, that it's just that kind of thing when people are willing to drop into that and know that they're in a safe container and that they can stop it at any time. That's like, I can't highlight that enough. But a lot of the things like the anxiety or the anxiousness or the kind of the trauma loop that we might talk about will be relieved to a huge extent, if not completely, by allowing, and receiving, and that exploration and the excitement and the freedom that comes from that. You know, it's pretty amazing, actually.
That's it. Well, and knowing that you can ask, and your partner's not going to say, "Are you insane?" You know. Just saying.
Yeah. Yes. It's good to have a partner that is like willing to move easily and freely with your fantasies and you with theirs, and to really create that foundation is liberating and hugely energizing.
Well, and if you don't like it, stop. So
exactly.
I'm just saying, you might find something you really like. You never know. All right.
It's really interesting, too, to watch that process.
It can be. It can be very interesting. All right. So I asked you if you might have a love work, not homework. Homework sounds like school. Love work sounds like fun. So do you have a love work assignment that you would like to share with the listeners?
I do. So anybody listening now, or what I would ask you to do, we're going to do what I call the 21 breath salute. So what it is you can do this laying down or sitting. We will do, obviously, 21 breaths. You'll inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. It's a fairly rapid or a medium speed breath. And after the 21st breath, we'll take another inhale, and then we'll hold that inhale. And on that hold, you'll squeeze your core. You can actually just squeeze your whole body, just tighten up your whole body. If you know what bandhas are, if you know how to, tighten like a kegel and then tightening the core up through the chakras, that's a good way to do that too. But if not, just squeezing your whole body and hold that breath as long as you can, and then you exhale all the way out, and then you hold that exhale. So you're holding the exhale for as long as you can, and then just going into gentle breathing. Now, what we're doing, what we'll do is we'll do this sitting sitting or laying down, checking in with the energy in your body. We'll call it erotic energy. What is your level of energetic desire for anything, whether it's for a partner or for a cup of coffee or for a new car or a vacation to Maui?
I was going to say trip to Hawaii.
And, from 1 to 10, where are you on that scale? And then just imagine yourself being able to move that up one notch. And if you're at a 10, just imagine that 10 blooming, like a flower blooming, just and it's being, showing as radiant light and color into the world. And just know that this energy is your energy. You get to do with it as you wish. And it's beautiful to have it. It's your birthright. So finding yourself in a comfortable place, letting your body relax. And if you're sitting up, or even if you're laying down, one of the things when you inhale is you can rock forward on your pelvis. On the exhale, rock back. So you're opening the front side of your body on the inhale and releasing the front side, or opening the back body on the exhale. So here we go. Here's 21. And inhaling all the way. Hold that breath. Squeeze your body as long as you can. Let that energy build. Feel it moving up from the floor of your pelvis all the way to the top of your head. And as you feel ready, exhaling through the mouth all the way. And give a little cough at the end. Hold that exhale. And let your body relax. Feel that energy building. Feel the movement of the sensations in the body, the back and forth. Maybe you can hear your heartbeat. And when you get ready to inhale, inhaling gently through the nose. During these kinds of exercises, nitric oxide is actually built up inside your sinuses. So you want to inhale through the nose and bring all of that beautiful nitric oxide into your body, enlivening the brain, enlivening the heart, cleansing the blood. Feeling that energy, taking a second to check into your level. Where are you now in that beautiful creative space, that erotic energy? This very simple technique is available to you at any time.
Is that something that if we need to kind of fire up the creative juices that we should do?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was something that was, it's kind of out of the tantric tradition, and it was meant to build erotic energy between couples. But what it does is it helps, yes, when you're getting ready to do your radio show, or you want to sit down and do some writing, or you're going to have to go have a conversation with somebody, good or bad. You can use this technique to really focus and shift the energy around that so that you're more present and also more energized. And I would also say that you can do it more than once. We do it, 3 times in a row a lot of times. So.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. And then I actually am sitting down to do a recording, but a recording of this will be available on my YouTube channel in the next day or so.
Okay, I like that. And definitely send me that link for the YouTube video, and I'll put that on the show page.
Okay, perfect. I get that feeling that you like that, Nikki.
Well, and like I said, I like things that can fire up the creativity, because there's sometimes that I just kind of have to take a break from what I'm doing, but I like having something that I can do, and always like things that fire up the creativity. See, this is why I put that in my show note package, because you never know what people are going to come up with.
Exactly. Well, and that's one of the things, one of the tools that I would use in working with somebody in a coaching practice online, especially, because you don't have to be, it's not requiring face or in-person kind of work.
Right.
But there's a lot of other things that can be done online that one would think could only be done in person. So.
Yeah, but you can there's so much you can do over a call and over Zoom and that kind of thing that
Yes.
No, you gotta be present. Well, both of you gotta be present. So
exactly. Yeah.
It does make a difference.
Absolutely.
So how can they find you?
Well, I do have a website. It's jameshumecky.com,
Okay.
And that does have all the contact information. If people want to come in for the somatic pleasure coaching, whether it's online or in person, which I invite people over here to Maui as well and work with people on, 3 to 5 day personal retreats, basically. And then, so they can get a hold of, go ahead.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah. So you can get a hold of me through my website, and to do the coaching, I require an interview process. There's a discovery call, and on my website you can actually sign up for a discovery call. What I would suggest, though, even more so, is to shoot me an email or call my phone, text or call my phone. By the time this airs, there'll be some changes done to my website that'll make it easier.
And all the contact information will be in websites and stuff will be on the show page.
Very good, very good. The other thing that I was going to offer to your listeners is a 10% discount on the Thai massage training that I have online.
Okay.
So there'll be a special code, and they can do that. It's a very extensive level 1 training, and there's more coming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
And then just one more thing is, in January, there's going to be a retreat. We're running a retreat here on Maui at an organic farm with a little retreat center, sort of out in the very rural areas here on Maui. And that'll be at the end of January, and more information coming with that. But if people are interested, they should get a hold of me and get you on the list.
January in Paradise. Oh
boy, and this place is the epitome of paradise too. Plus, we'll be doing it's somatic pleasure retreat, and we have quite a itinerary for people.
Pleasure in Paradise. Oh, see, you're so mean. Such a tease.
Pleasure in Paradise. Maybe I'll change the name. That sounds great.
Yeah. Somatic Pleasure in Paradise. There you go. That is so bad.
It's good. So bad it's good, honey.
Exactly. Oh, how bad can you stand?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's so bad. Well, James, thank you so much for being here with me today. Well, not here, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Oh. Well,
yeah, it was a real pleasure talking to you. And I look forward to many more.
Oh, well, yes, we're going to have James back, and I don't think we'll be doing it in person. If we do, though, trust me, you will hear about it, listeners. So.
I will be heading out to Atlanta in a few weeks here and driving my van back across the state. So.
Well, I will be just up the coast. So.
Okay. I've never been to Virginia, so it might be fun.
Oh, see, it's beautiful up here. It is, and I'm just up the road. Just straight up 81. I'm right here.
Okay. Let's plan it.
There you go. All right. Well, listeners, I hope that you enjoyed the call. The replay and all the information will be at lovecoachjourney.com/somatic pleasure. It's SOMATIC PLEASURE. And listeners, I will be with you next time on Ready for Love Radio.